Hi, I'm James Warren from OA Systems, and today we're going to take a look at the Sales Hub in Dynamics 365. This is the Wave 2 2020 release, but it is just a general video to show you the layout of the system with the unified interface, some of the features that people are generally using, and just a general get to know the system type video, not specifically about the updates in the latest version. So with Dynamics, what you have is an underlying platform where you can capture data, present the data, and report the data. So when you come into the Sales Hub, what you'll see here is that Sales Hub is outlined. You can rename that and have your own individual organizational hub. You can also theme the layout so that you have different colors, but as I mentioned, this is just the out of the box. If you click on that Sales Hub, you'll actually see with your security license what other areas of the system you are licensed to see. But generally, if you were a user coming in and you just had the Dynamics 365 Sales Enterprise license, you would click on that and you would just have access to the single hub and perhaps the mobile interface. If you're not aware, Dynamics is part of Office 365, so I'll just jump out here and show you. If we go to our home here, I have an Office 365, I think it's an E3 trial license and also a Dynamics license in this environment, and you'll see Dynamics just gets added once you have that license to the menu for you to be able to jump in. When you do jump in, what you have is the underlying layer of data capture, data presentation, and reporting. So I like to think of that as the base. The first thing you're going to do is put the data into the system. Because it's focused on relationship management, you should have to only enter the data once in the system and then be able to leverage it and use it in other places, and that will come up as we go through. Then there's that presentation layer. How is it laid out when it's an account, a contact, an opportunity, whatever it is. And then there's the reporting layer. And coming in at the beginning of the day, having a look at the dashboards is one of the areas where reporting can be useful. So what you'll see here is this is the standard layout. If I can minimize that menu down the left hand side, just giving you slightly more visibility on how you can see the information. And what we're going to do is have a look at here, My Open Opportunities. So any record that you create in the system will show up under the My Views. You can also go in and change these dashboards so that they just show open opportunities, which means any member of the team who's the owner who put it in will show up in that view. And I'll give you an example of how that works. You'll see in these dashboards, you can go and view records. And what that's going to do in this case is open up the opportunity layout. So you'll see here, there's the view with My Opportunities. There's the records that make that up, and if I want to drill down and look at something in particular, I could go and look at all the opportunities that are currently in the develop stage. So I can click on that graph on the left hand side, and what that will do is minimize the records over here on the right hand side. If I want to get back to the overall view, I just click outside that. And that's a very useful way of being able to filter information quickly. The good thing about these views is you can filter them by the graph, but you can also filter them by the actual views that you have. So as I mentioned before, these are My Open Opportunities. This is the out-of-the-box environment, so there are a lot of potential views you can go have a look at here. But what I'm going to do is go look at Open Opportunities. So what that will do is refresh that graph, change the numbers on there, and you will see we can do that same thing where we just want to go in and see all of the ones that are assigned across the whole team, and that can have a real different impact on what you're looking at. So a really good example is if you come in here and you go estimated versus actual revenue. That's not really going to do much until I'm in the all opportunities view. Which I haven't actually got set up here, but if you have all opportunities, that will show open and close, so that would then give you a bar here of the ones that were closed as won, as lost, and how much revenue was in there. But the good thing about these graphs is they can be done by user, by time. Basically, if you're capturing the information, you can have that work. If you close the chart, what you just have here is the general view that you work in, and we'll jump back out and come to that. With the dashboards, here's a couple of things that you might want to know about. This sales activity social dashboard has the assistant in it. We'll come back to that when we go into some records, but what it does is it will actually tell you if deeper down in the system you've set up an opportunity or some record. You can actually make assistant notes out of a number of different things. But in this case, what I've done is these ones are going to close in the next, I think I've put 30 days. So what it does is pops up and says, here's a reminder. You can click on that reminder and you can either open the opportunity directly, or you can go in and remove the reminder to later, or make some other notes on it. But it is nice to be able to have those proactively pop up in front of you, so you don't even have to drill down to a view level to find out what's relevant. This chart, or the charts that you have in the system, should be able to give you an idea of these are the relevant things that we need to be seen, and do they look right? The other good thing is you have the capacity to have multiple charts. So you'll see here we can have charts of different views, and if I go into this one, it's basically a different layout, and what it will do is, well, we still have the sales pipeline down here. We've laid this one out so it'll show you your activities, your opportunities, and your leads. That dashboard should be, what is the most useful thing that I need to see immediately, and can I click on it and action it right now? So you'll see you can open up that record by clicking on it. It's not just visual. So, going down the navigation on the left-hand side, there are a couple of important things that we'll jump into early. Recent and pinned, I find, are incredibly useful. So you'll see here, before I put this video together, I came in and had a look at a few records and was moving around the system just to make sure everything would show up as I expected. And that's going to show me, here are the recent things I clicked on. If I want to say, well, I know I'm going to be coming back to this is a campaign. So if I'm going to be coming back to this campaign all the time, I can pin that, and that will show up in my pinned records. You can unpin those as well, but that's a very useful way, even rather than going into the dashboard and seeing what's relevant. If you know you're going back to the same record over and over again, you can just come into that pin and click on that, and you're straight in and getting up and running, which is a very useful way to get your day moving. After the dashboards and the layout, what we have here is activities. Now, activities are the way that I find the system is a heavy driver of how to do your job. You'll see here it can be laid out in all sorts of ways, all activities, by time, when it's due, by activity type. The activity types that come out of the box are general ones like your tasks, your emails, your appointments. So if you're used to using Outlook to run your life, you'll be used to those concepts. So that's a point. We'll jump out to Outlook here. So any of those records that are created inside Dynamics, if you've set the system up properly, will show up in your Outlook, and that can be the desktop app version or the web browser version, which I've got here. So what you'll see is if you come in and you don't have Dynamics automatically activated in your mail area, you can come in and you can basically click on these dots and open up Dynamics, and what that will do is actually give you the unified interface, which is the same as the browser version we've just been looking at, showing up down the right hand side of your screen. So an example of what you can do with this is quite useful. So first of all, if you haven't tracked an email before, it will come in and ask you if you want to create this record from this user as an account, a contact, or a lead. and you can come in and track that. So this recipient has been tracked before. Then, if you have tracked that recipient, what you can do is you can set this email regarding some kind of record. So it could be regarding an account, regarding a lead, regarding an opportunity. And I'll jump in and show you what that does in a minute. But what it will automatically do is against the contact record that you've created, in this case, this contact record here, it will take this email and create a copy inside Dynamics. Now, the good thing for people who go through and clean out their inbox and delete everything is the copy that's created in Dynamics will not be deleted if you delete it from your inbox. So you do want to be careful about how you set up the tracking. You don't want to track all the emails that come from your mum, but you can track just the records that you want to into Dynamics. And you'll see if I scroll down here, and you can adjust this layout as well, it's going to show us this timeline, and it will show us all the things that we've got from this person that haven't been tracked to me, but not to other members of the team. But it will also show that this is this email over here, and if I want to go in and see that in Dynamics, I can see that here, and we'll show you what that looks like in a minute. From here, without going all the way into Dynamics, you can go in and create new either accounts, opportunities, leads straight from the email, or follow-up appointments and tasks. So that's incredibly useful for people who are information workers that work mostly out of their inbox and don't want to be clicking on going into other tabs. And what happens there is all of those things, and you'll see we've got activity types down the screen here, the emails we're tracking, tasks that we've created, phone calls that we've put in, and appointments will all show up in this list. And if I just want to go in to my activities, you'll see that will just be my ones that I'm working with. The really important thing about this is if you create a task reminder inside Dynamics, it will go through to your Outlook and show up in your task reminders there. I don't have those set up in this demo at the moment, but that means if you want to turn on the task reminders on your phone, it can pop up in your phone. One of the best things since I started working with Dynamics quite a few years ago now, that came from this is the idea that you're never going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning 2 weeks after you were meant to do something and go, oh my god, I missed doing that task. It is a way for you to drive your day. So let's just jump into an account record here, and we'll show you what some of this means. So if I come into the second one here, you can have different layouts of the forms for different users. So if you have somebody who needs a lot of information, so you'll see I've got a lot of different areas of this form where we can go and get the information, or you can have a minimally focused view of the form. All the data will be kept in the back end, but the layout for the particular user, you'll see, will look less busy. And you'll see in this case, what we capture here is basic, simple information. This is an account that we're going to be working with. We've got their contact details, their website, their address, those sorts of things. Here is the timeline of communications that we've got against that account. And here is the lead contact, but also a list of other contacts in that organization and some recent opportunities that we're working on. So you'll see that's basically a summary. You can then go much further into the details about this organization. And one of the really important things is if you're storing documents in SharePoint, you can actually see through this iframe here what documents are captured there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to choose a file, hopefully something pretty simple. There we go. That's a template from an earlier demo. And what that's going to do is, as you'll see, that shows up, but it's not actually stored in Dynamics. If I go and open location and you're using SharePoint, what it will do is show you that it's gone and created a folder structure in SharePoint, or you can have a pre-existing one, and that document is actually stored in SharePoint. So if you've got users in your team that are not Dynamics users but are SharePoint users, they can see that file structure, update documents, and add any additional information to the system. if you come into Dynamics and you're looking at your particular engagement with an account, and this also works on clients, leads, and opportunities, you can see the information that members of your team are uploading into that SharePoint folder. Incredibly useful. Some of the things that are important here is if you have an organizational structure, I don't have that set up on this environment, you can click on that and you can see here is the head office and here is all the branch offices. You can also see a roll up if you've got opportunities against different branch offices. You can actually see a roll up of the value against the head office for that. There's a lot of things in the menus up here. What you can do is set up templates that will pull information from the layout of these forms, and I'll show you something that looks like in a minute. So anything you're capturing in here can be put into a Word document or a PDF, which is great, and you can also assign these records to other members of your team. What we're going to do now is have a quick look at this one, which is incredibly useful, and in this case what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an email from inside Dynamics. Now, the reason why you would do this inside Dynamics and not from Outlook is because you have access to a few more standardized things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to expand that screen. Now, what I want to do here is, sorry, I believe I clicked the wrong button. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to click that export to PDF. So what that does is it gives me a list of any of the templated documents that I've created that will pull data from Dynamics. And as you can see here, it's gone and created a specific document for this client. So ADatum that we were working with, it's put in their contact details, it's put in particular information about this account we're working with here, and it's gone and filled in some details, which is great. So what we're going to do with that is we can either just save that to our SharePoint if it's just for internal communication, or we can send that email out to the client. So what it will do is it will create an email document and go and look for any relevant contacts that can be added to that. And I'm just going to expand that here. So you can see here, because we're not sending it directly from a contact, it's going to ask us who are we sending this to, and I'm just going to put in this contact. Now, the important thing in here is we can take a template, insert templated emails to the content, but that attachment will also be there. So I'm going to apply this template, and what that's going to do is that's going to fill in the Dear Alex in this case. But I've also got that attachment that's been personalized for the organization sitting there. Now, the good thing about using Dynamics is you get the ability to do a couple of things, which is I want to follow this email. So following the email will do things, and if we come back and have a look, it'll tell us, did they open it? Did they open the attachment? Did they respond to us? And that's really important because it gives you some control over what you do down with the reminder. So you can schedule it to be sent at a later time. So if you've got this set up and you know a particular thing's happening on a date, you want to do all this work in advance and get it ready to go, you can go do that and set that to be scheduled. But this is what I love the most, is the ability to set a reminder to follow up this email. Now, this will work conditionally. So if I do not receive a reply by a certain date, if the email is not opened by a certain date, or just remind me anyway. So what you do is you can set the date, put in a comment in here, and you can go OK, and it will go and create that. Now, if I jump out to the record, so I'm not going to actually create that email, that reminder will then show up in here, and if I've connected it to my Outlook, it'll show up in my Outlook tasks as a reminder if that email is not opened. So that's a really incredibly useful way for the sales team to be able to manage using the system. Now that works on anywhere that you've got a timeline. So you'll see here on accounts we've got a timeline. I'm just going to go into a contact record here, and you'll see we have a slightly different layout of the information with this contact. So this is Alex, who I sent the email to. On here we've got his first name, last name, contact details. We've got any opportunities that he's related to, and that email that I just sent out to him is tracked against here as well, because he was the contact on that record. So you'll see generally that's the information that you have on the accounts and contacts part of the system. Any of the things you're doing, like this opportunity here, that have that person set up as the contact on that opportunity will show up on their form. So you'll see if I go back, in fact we can do it this way, if I go back to Alex's record, what that's going to do is you'll see there was an opportunity linked over here. Anywhere that there's a sort of blue reference, that means that that record is related to something else. In this case it's a PDF, in this case it's an account, over here it's an opportunity. So what we're going to do now is just jump down to leads and opportunities, which are really the key core parts of the Sales Hub. All of those bits I've showed you so far are available in all parts of the system. You can do that whether you're using the sales, customer service, field service, or project. What's specifically focused on the Sales Hub is the ability to capture leads. So the thing about a lead is the way Microsoft view these is this is a bucket of contacts with information you have about them that you don't currently have an expected close date, enough information about their account, or a single sales objective, as in you know what you're going to sell them. So generally these are quite specific, but generally you can put very vague things in here, just a list of people that you should call. And as you fill in that information, so as you know his name, his potential company, or any of the what you want to sell him, or anything about the time or date that that's likely to be closed, once you get that information, you'll then look to qualify it. Now, what we've got at the top here is called a process-driven form. So you can see a couple of things here. You can see how long this lead has been in the system for, how long it's been at each stage of engagement, and in each stage of engagement you can grab the records from, the files from the form and put them up in a particular order that you would like them to be captured. So in this case, these are all the pieces of information that you'd like to have captured before you qualify it. And you'll see here, if you look at the top of the page, it says we're on the lead form. When I go to the next stage with a lead, what that will do, I'll qualify from the top here. When we go through the next stage, what that will do is if there's not an existing account, contact, or opportunity, it will actually confirm with us, is this someone we already know? And if we do, can we attach this to the existing account? So in this case, it's gone and looked at the company name and found that, well, we don't know Darren, we do know Woodgrove Bank. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach him as a new contact to Woodgrove and create an opportunity with him as the reference. So I'm going to continue to create this. If there was nothing there, this form wouldn't pop up. It would just go ahead and create Woodgrove Bank. So when we process that, that's going and creating new records in the background. If you look at the top of the form here, what you'll see is we have moved from the lead form layout. So this layout of the form down below is different because we're now in opportunities. And you'll see the lead was active for 4 months, but we've now been at the develop stage for just less than a minute. And we don't have any dates or revenue in there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in for the next date and put a value in, just so you can see when we save that assistant record that I had showing up in the dashboard will actually show up inside the record now. So if I'm coming in and I'm going into a specific record, this can tell me, hey, this opportunity is meant to be closed soon. Are you doing all the things you're doing? The other thing you can do with dates is create workflows. So if you know that date's coming up and you want to automatically send a reminder to the client that you had sent them a proposal, and that the due date for that proposal was coming up, and once it's gone past that due date, you'll have to send them a new validation of that proposal. You can use those dates as triggers in the background to do that. And that will create emails or tasks or appointments, whatever's necessary for you to be able to communicate. We can also add an SMS functionality for it to be able to text them as well. So the difference between lead and opportunities is opportunities have the ability for you to be able to add, if you have any price lists as an organization, you can go in and basically select your price list. So I'm just going to grab the retail one here, and if you want to pull from that price list, you can add the price list, and what you can do is go and pull from that price list. You can add a price list, and what you can do is go and pull from that price list. You can add a price list. You can add a price list, and you can pull from the price list. A range of products. But if you don't have any products loaded, you do have the ability to write in your own. And it gives you the ability to set the volume that you're adding and the price per unit. So you'll see the revenue is user provided. If you're using items from the price list, you can have system calculated, so it will automatically go ahead and update the estimated revenue at the top of the form. And if you are using the quoting functionality, you can go through and turn that record into a quote. So you'll see here when I click new quote, what that's going to do is take me through to a new form. And that has pulled through the information from that opportunity. You don't have to use quotes, and once you activate the quote, you can then turn it into an invoice if you've closed it. Sorry, an order and then an invoice. But you don't have to go through all the process of using those items if you do have another financial system you're working with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to that opportunity. So you'll see one of the things we can do here is have something called stage gating as you're going through the sales process. So if I get to the point where I'm at the develop stage and I just want to move it through to the next stage, it will stop me from doing that. So any of your organizational objectives or KPI measures, you can create them as mandatory, and that means you can't move forward into the next process, giving you some confidence around your sales pipeline, that graph we had earlier on. So you can also move that to the side of the screen if you've got a lot of information you need to fill in while you're looking at this, or need to refer to any of the timeline records while you're filling it in, or what was the proposed solution we did. And you'll see here if I complete that identify stakeholder, I can move that through to the next stage. I'll just minimize that. So we've proposed that. What you can do is use that timeline email template creation to send them the proposal. And then obviously when you're closing it, what you're going to do is if we come back to our opportunities here, that will show up, that opportunity that we're working on will show up currently in our list of open opportunities. If we go and close it, what that will end up in is closed opportunities. So it won't be deleted from the system, it won't be gone anywhere, you'll still be able to see all the information in it, but your open opportunities will only be the list that you're working on. And that's a good way of keeping additional unnecessary information out of people's faces. And if we minimize the list of views that they're working in, they could then go very quickly to see, well, what are the closed opportunities that I've got, because I need to reference what I've been working on. So the other parts of the system is keeping sales literature. If you have documents that you want the team to use as standardization, you can go in and create that and add that. And then when you're sending those emails like we had before, rather than attaching a template, you can attach sales literature. The sales system does give you the ability to work with marketing lists. So a marketing list is basically, you can create static or dynamic. Static is basically a list. You go choose the users that you want to add to that list. And dynamic is if you go and want to filter by anyone who's purchased a particular product or anyone who's in a particular region. The reason you create marketing lists is you can do campaigns. So campaigns are using either email, you can print a letter, you can set up a phone call or an appointment with all of those people on that marketing list, and you can come in and basically attach that marketing list and go through the process of setting up that campaign, and it will attach that marketing campaign to each contact record. So if you go in here, you'll see we have the availability of those existing marketing lists we had before, and if I want to attach them, we then go through and add any undistributed campaign activities. Now, as I said, the campaign activities can be made up of a range of things: emails, phone calls, appointments, letters. We can drill into that further if that's something that would be necessary for the team. You do have the ability to set up goals and forecasts. I haven't set that up in this demo basically because there are some other videos that drill into how they work. and anyone who's licensed with the Dynamics sales license does have access to both create cases and also view cases. One of the reasons might be if you're going out to see your client and you go in and look at their contact record. So in this case, I'll go into Blue Yonder. Before I go out on site, I can scroll down and have a look and go, are there any cases that we're working on with these guys? We would minimize your view so you wouldn't have this much information. And actually I'm going out on site, I can probably solve it while I'm there. So I have the ability to update it, close it. And that's very similar layout to the way the opportunities work. You have the information you're going to capture, you have a process that you can manage, so you can come in and quickly see where a case is at. You can also do things like having child cases, so if there's a big problem but you need to close some other things beforehand, you will be able to do that. Come back to me if you want to have any information about cases, case management, and the customer service app. So generally that's going down the left-hand side navigation. There are a couple of other quick things to be aware of. Search functionality has been updated, so if I want to go in and look for Jim, who I know is a contact, I can come in here and it will show me that. Just drop down. But if I want a more detailed look at who Jim might be, I can come in here, and what I might do is put in and look at Blue Yonder. So we know that's an account. There are some opportunities against it. There are some contacts and some cases. So we can then filter down and go, actually, I just want to look at the task. So the search functionality has been improved dramatically and is very useful for you to be able to drill down to what you're looking for very quickly. If you are using the system and you look at these plus buttons up the top, these are the quick creates. So if you want to come in and quickly create a new account, a new contact, or a new task, that will just pop open on the right hand side of the form and just give you a minimized version of those forms for just the relevant information. So that's a general outline of the sales app. The one thing I don't have set up here, which could be quite useful, is to be aware that Dynamics does work with Power BI. So in these dashboards, you don't have to be minimized down to the Dynamics layout. If you have an organizational Power BI layout for reporting, you can use that in the dashboard area as well. So generally, that's the basics of the Sales Hub. Obviously, every organization needs it tailored specifically to their requirements. We would love to have a talk to you about how you're doing that. But for now, that's a basic run through of the navigation, layout, and capabilities of the Sales Hub. Keep an eye out for other videos from OA Systems. Once again, I was James Warren, and thanks for your time.